After graduating high school with honors, an ambitious young man leaves for college to pursue his dream of becoming a doctor. When he suddenly goes missing one day, an extensive search is launched to find out exactly what happened to him. As police investigate, they start to unravel a web of lies and reveal the story of a ruthless murder fueled by a deadly obsession. This is the story of Christian Aguilar. Christian Aguilar was born on February 20th, 1994, to his parents, Carlos and Claudia Aguilar, who migrated from Colombia to Florida just a few years prior. Growing up in Miami, Christian was described by his friends and family as funny, friendly, and competitive, and was devoted to his loved ones. His brother Alex, who was 2 years younger than him, described him as an inspiration and a blessing in his life. Christian was ambitious and had big plans for his future. By 2012, 18-year-old Christian had just graduated high school and was starting a new chapter in his life. He left his hometown in Miami and moved out to Gainesville to study biomedical engineering at the University of Florida on a scholarship. It was there that he rekindled with Erika, a friend he knew from high school who also moved to Gainesville to attend college. Erika enrolled in Santa Fe Community College, just a few miles away from the University of Florida, where Christian was enrolled. It wasn't long before the two of them started dating and taking their relationship seriously. Christian's father would later say that he never saw his son as happy as when he started dating Erika. By all accounts, they were very happy together and saw prospects for a long-term relationship and even marriage. Unfortunately, these plans were abruptly cut short after a tragic event came to light in the fall of 2012. Thursday, September 20th, 2012. Erika had just finished her classes that afternoon at Santa Fe College and called Christian to meet up with him. He'd previously told her that he was going to spend some time that day with Pedro Bravo, a mutual friend of theirs that they both knew from high school. Christian and Erika had made plans to meet afterward and go back to Erika's apartment together, but for some reason, Christian wasn't responding. After a while, Erika figured that he was probably busy with something and decided to go home alone and wait for him there. Later that evening, she checked her phone again. When she saw that he still hasn't responded to her calls or texts, she started to get worried. Thinking that maybe his phone died and he fell asleep, Erika left her apartment that night and walked to Christian's dorm. When she arrived, she found out that he didn't return to his dorm room, and her worries started to grow. By 4 a.m. the following morning, when she still hadn't heard from Christian, Erika called the last person she knew who was with him that day, Pedro Bravo. Pedro told her that after meeting with Christian earlier, the two of them had lunch together and went shopping. He said that they had a conversation in his car that turned into an argument and that he dropped off Christian on the side of a road and hasn't heard from him since. Desperate to track down her boyfriend, Erika frantically called Christian's parents, hoping that maybe they knew where he was, but they had no clue. Christian's father, Carlos, immediately felt something was wrong and placed a call to Gainesville police.
My name is Carlos Aguilar, and I'm the parent of Christian Aguilar. He's a student over at the university. His girlfriend has been trying to contact him since yesterday, and he's not answering. He normally responds to his girlfriend right away, and if she's so concerned about it, we are concerned right now. This is not his normal behavior, and I'm wondering if you guys can help us.
Just a few hours later, Erika brought Pedro to the University of Florida to report Christian missing. They arrived at the UF campus police station at 9:44 that morning and were each brought to a separate room to be questioned. In one of the rooms, a detective sits with Pedro and asks him to detail exactly what happened the day before.
I'm like, oh, do you want to go get something to eat? And he's like, oh, okay, sure. So we got in my car and we went to Zaxby's Chicken, which is on Archer Road. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, oh, yeah, can we pull into the Best Buy? And I was like, sure, because he wanted to get the new Kanye West CD. And then we went into the Best Buy and we looked around and we found the new Kanye West CD and he got it. So then we got in the car and then we drove around because I like driving around and talking to someone because it seems like it wouldn't be focused on the road, but for me it helps me like clear my mind and it helps me bring back a relationship with an old friend.
Pedro's initial story was that after picking up Christian, he dropped him off to get his flu shot before they both went to a restaurant called Zaxby's Chicken. After having lunch there, Pedro says that they stopped at Best Buy where Christian bought a Kanye West CD, after which they both got back in Pedro's car and went for a drive to talk. He says that at some point, their conversation turned into an argument, and that Christian asked Pedro to drop him off at his dorm, which he did.
I told him, things have just been really rough. I said, you don't understand what I'm going through. And he's like, I think I understand what I'm going through. And I got really frustrated. I don't think you understand because this isn't like your little love game with that girl.
You just pulled the car over to the side of the road?
Pretty much.
And you don't remember what was nearby there?
Not really.
This is the first of many times that Pedro would change his story. At first he claimed that he drove Christian to his dorm, but now says that he pulled over and dropped him off on the side of a road, and that he doesn't remember where it was exactly. His account of what happened changes once again when he introduces a new character in his story.
At that point, we saw a hitchhiker, just a random guy. He had like a big white beard. He said he came all the way from New York State to get married with this girl here in Gainesville, but he caught her cheating. Like once he saw her, he said I caught her in her panties with beer.
After a while, Pedro changes his story once again. He now claims that after dropping off the bearded hitchhiker, their argument turned physical when Pedro punched him in his face and told him to get out of his car, which he did.
The thing I wanted to tell you, because I like it's gonna, if I don't tell you, it's just gonna eat me up inside, and at one point it's just gonna come back and bite me in the ass, I guess. I stopped the car myself, and I turned around and I just punched him in the face. And I looked at him, I'm like, get out, and he's like, fine. And he opened the door to the side of the car and just got out.
We know that he's not coming back, okay? I know he's not coming back. I've been doing this for too long. I've been doing this for 30 years. I know when somebody's coming back. When they ain't coming back, he ain't coming back. You know he's not coming back. No, you gotta tell the truth.
Will I still be able to go home with my parents tonight if I...
I'm not gonna lie to you and tell you that you can go home tonight, okay? You know, it's something that we gotta work on.
Police are now convinced that they are investigating a homicide case, but don't have enough evidence to file murder charges. Instead, Pedro was arrested and charged with depriving a victim of medical care and was kept in custody as the investigation continued. Over the following weeks, an extensive search effort was launched to try and locate Christian's remains, while police obtained warrants to search Pedro's home and belongings. On October 12th, the search came to an end when two hunters made a gruesome discovery. While looking for firewood in a forested area 60 miles outside of Gainesville, the hunters came across what they believed was a dead deer. As they approached it, the hunters realized that they had just discovered a partially buried, decomposing human corpse, bound at the hands and ankles. Dental records confirmed that it was in fact Christian's body. An autopsy determined that he was drugged and strangled to death. Police found a mountain of evidence that explained exactly what happened, but still needed to figure out why. Pedro was charged with first-degree murder and his trial date was set. At his trial, Pedro pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder and 6 other charges related to Christian's death. Prosecutors presented an overwhelming amount of evidence which painted a very dark story of what actually happened to Christian the day he went missing. Hidden in the back of Pedro's closet was a suitcase stuffed with Christian's belongings that he was carrying with him the day he went missing. This included his school bag, wallet, IDs, and the receipt for the CD he purchased at Best Buy. Police also found receipts for items that Pedro bought in the days leading up to the murder, which prosecutors at his trial called a murderer's starter pack. This included sleep medication, a knife, Gatorade, and a shovel. CCTV footage confirmed that Pedro was in fact the person who bought these items. In his car, police found the shovel covered in dried mud and an empty Gatorade bottle with residue that tested positive for the sleep medication. They also found blood and vomit on the car seats and the floorboard that matched Christian's DNA. A search of Pedro's phone revealed his search history just before he made the purchases, which included questions like, what is chloroform? What is a good anesthetic? Can rubbing alcohol knock someone out? After returning home that night, he searched, what kind of murders get solved? And stats on unsolved murders. The evidence suggests that Pedro drugged Christian, bound him with duct tape, then strangled him to death before driving out to a remote forest and burying his body. this murder wasn't just premeditated, but was meticulously planned for weeks. The question now is, why? This was answered in great detail with the help of a journal that was found in Pedro's possession, which included passages expressing his most obsessive and disturbing thoughts. Prosecutors had Christian's girlfriend Erika take the stand to give context to the contents of the journal. She told the court that she and Pedro had actually dated for a few years during high school. Their relationship began during their sophomore year and lasted until they were about to graduate. By senior year, Erika decided to end their relationship and said that Pedro took the breakup a lot harder than she expected. He wasn't willing to accept that they were over and was persistent in trying to win her back. He flooded her phone with calls and messages, desperately trying to get back with her, but Erika was adamant. After the summer was over, Erika moved to Gainesville to attend Santa Fe Community College and said that it was there where she and Christian, who was Pedro's close friend from childhood, had reconnected and eventually started dating. She figured that since Pedro was back in Miami, 350 miles away, the distance between them would help him eventually get over the breakup and move on. Pedro, however, was far from ready to let her go. He began his journal soon after the breakup and wrote his last entry on the night before Christian was murdered. The entries started off harmless with drawings, poems, lyrics, and quotes. He expressed his love for Erika and how heartbroken he was over their breakup. It seemed that he was absolutely convinced that he and Erika would eventually get back together at some point. In one entry, he writes, "I wish this is just the break we needed between us, then we will be back together. Though I don't understand, I will seek to make some things better." In another entry, he writes, "She cut me out on Facebook today. I feel a piece of my world ending already. I just want to be with her, though now begins my journey to win her back. Hopefully no one gets her before I do. I pray and wish and hope." On another page, he writes, "I can do this. I believe in myself. I will do it. I can win her back. I will win her back." Over time, Pedro became more and more determined, and his plans started to materialize when he decided to leave Miami and move out to Gainesville to be closer to Erika. He started writing things like, "I will get out of Miami and into UF and I will win her back. I can do this." "My life slowly ended in Miami, so I came up with a plan to have it brought back again, and nothing will keep me from leaving here to Gainesville. Nothing." Just when it seemed to Erika that Pedro was finally putting their breakup behind him, she suddenly ran into him in Gainesville one day and was shocked to find out that he'd actually moved there and enrolled in Santa Fe Community College, the very same college that she was attending. It was around this time that Erika started dating Christian, who had been close friends with Pedro since they were in 8th grade. Pedro, who likely stalked Erika on social media, showed her a photo of her and Christian together and asked her if they were dating, but she denied it. At his trial, Erika testified that because of how difficult he was taking the breakup, she felt that he wasn't ready to find out about it and didn't want to push him over the edge. Pedro wrote about his suspicions, "I'm scared she might end up with Chris. I hope I get a chance with her again, and I hope I get to be in her life as her lover once more." He then consoles himself, writing, "You're overreacting again. Remember that Chris goes to UF and Erika goes to Santa Fe, so limited conversation/contact. Plus they don't talk much and he lives on campus. They got separate classes and schools, plus you have time." It was evident that Pedro's obsession was growing and growing. Prosecutors alleged that at some point he found out that Erika started dating his friend and started to plan his murder. After buying what he needed to carry out his plan, Pedro called Christian and told him that he was feeling depressed and needed a friend to talk to. Christian told Erika about this, and they were both concerned that he may want to fight him, but they figured that it was unlikely since they were going to meet in public. Christian agreed, and on September 20th, Pedro went to pick him up. After Christian bought his CD from Best Buy, they both left the store and got into Pedro's car. This is when prosecutors believe Christian was given the bottle of Gatorade laced with sedatives, then bound with duct tape and strangled to death with a belt. Once Christian was dead, Pedro put his phone on airplane mode to keep it from tracking him as he drove to a remote swamp 60 miles away and attempted to bury Christian's body. Pedro's phone log showed that his flashlight was on for 49 minutes that night, likely during his time at the swamp. On his way home, Pedro stopped by a McDonald's to pick up some food, then washed off the mud on his car. One of the most damning testimonies at the trial was that of Michelangelo, an inmate that Pedro shared a cell with while awaiting his trial.
I think originally he said that he was going to try to poison him with a mixture of sleeping pills and pesticide and mixed with soda or something, like I guess soda. And his backup plan was to have a knife, to cut his throat. After he had got back in the driver's seat and he was, I guess riding around to dispose of the body, that it was making a sound like, and that's the reason that he held on to the driving strap while he was riding around, because it freaked him out.
In a rare move by the defense, Pedro took the stand to testify on his own behalf.
At some point, did you make an effort to connect with Erika?
I made an effort to connect with Erika around, I'm not sure the later date, but it was not at the beginning, it was much later on.
Did you make an effort to meet up with Christian?
Yes, I made an effort to try and meet up with Christian, because even though I was in Gainesville, I was still going through, first I was going through the emotional thing with Erika, and after that I was also going through all my little itty-bitty problems that just kept mounting up, and he was one of the people I knew I could talk to, and he was the only person in Gainesville that I knew I could relate to me and could help me out.
Pedro denied having anything to do with Christian's murder and claimed that his move to Gainesville wasn't to try to get back with Erika. His defense claimed that he was actually suicidal and bought the sleep medication to overdose on them, and that the shovel was purchased to dig his own grave. Pedro claimed that after ingesting the medication, he quickly vomited and took it as a sign from God that it wasn't his time to go. His defense explained that Christian's vomit that was found was from a previous occasion when he and Pedro were in the car, and that the blood found inside the car was from when Pedro punched him in the face. Pedro was adamant that Christian was definitely alive when he left his car, and that he had no idea what happened to him. After all of the evidence was presented to the court, the jury took just 3 hours to return with a verdict. Pedro Bravo was convicted of first-degree murder, poisoning, kidnapping, tampering with evidence, giving false information, and improper transportation of human remains. On August 15, 2014, Pedro was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He now resides at the Taylor Correctional Institution in Florida, where he will likely remain for the rest of his natural life. To this day, he continues to maintain his innocence.